I couldn't feel my wrist anymore. The pain had gone from screaming to numb, which probably meant something was seriously wrong. The fluorescent lights of the supermart buzzed overhead, casting everything in that sickly yellow glow that made the blood on my gray sleeve look darker than it was. I was crouched between the soda display and a rack of chips in aisle 4, trying to make myself invisible, trying to breathe quietly even though my lungs wanted to sob. The white bandage I'd wrapped around my wrist 3 hours ago was already soaked through, a fresh crimson bloom spreading across the gauze where David had grabbed and twisted. My phone screen was cracked, just like the coffee mug he'd thrown at my head, just like the picture frame that had shattered when I'd tried to block his swing, just like me. I pulled up my contacts with shaking fingers, scrolling for my cousin Shanice's number. She'd help. She'd always said she would help when I was ready to leave. Tonight, I was ready. Tonight, I had to be. Shanice, 555-0147. I pressed it. Started typing with my left thumb because my right hand wouldn't cooperate. He hit me. I'm hiding at the supermart on 5th. Please help. Send. I held my breath, waiting for the 3 dots that would tell me she'd seen it. That help was coming. That I wasn't going to die in a grocery store aisle while my husband hunted me like prey. The response came faster than I expected. Who is this? My stomach dropped. No. 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 Not now. Please, I typed frantically. He's here. Detective David Morris. He's going to find me. I need help. I must have hit the wrong number. 1 digit off. One stupid mistake that was going to cost me everything. The phone buzzed again. Stay where you are. Don't move. I'm 2 minutes away. I stared at the message, not understanding. Who answers a wrong number text like that? Who promises to help a stranger? I didn't have time to wonder because I heard it. That sound that had haunted me for 3 years. David whistling. That same melody from our wedding day. The song we'd danced to when I still believed in fairy tales and happy endings. Now it was the soundtrack to my nightmares. The whistling was getting closer. Aisle 3, maybe aisle 2. I pressed myself tighter against the metal shelving, feeling the sharp edge dig into my spine. My bandaged wrist throbbed in time with my racing heart. I could see his shadow moving past the end cap, his police-issue boots squeaking on the linoleum. I know you're here, baby. David's voice was soft, almost tender. That tone that meant he was at his most dangerous. You know I can track your phone, right? Did you forget I'm a cop? I have resources. My phone buzzed. I nearly dropped it. Parking now. Keep him talking if he finds you. 90 seconds. Who was this person? And how did they know? David rounded the corner. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Him, towering and furious in his off-duty jeans and detective's jacket, his badge still clipped to his belt like a threat. Me, curled up like a wounded animal, cradling my destroyed wrist. There you are! His smile didn't reach his eyes. Baby, you're making this so much harder than it needs to be. You know I love you. You know I didn't mean to hurt you. He'd said that before, after the first black eye, after the bruised ribs, after every broken promise. David, please. Please what? He crouched down to my level, reaching for my injured wrist. Please stop. Please let you leave. We both know that's not going to happen. You're my wife, happiness. Till death do us part, remember? His fingers closed around the bandage. I screamed. The glass doors at the front of the store didn't open. They exploded, not shattered. Exploded inward with a force that sent fragments skittering across the tile like diamonds. David jerked upright, his hand instinctively going to the gun at his hip. 3 men in dark suits moved through the entrance with the precision of a military unit. But it was the 4th man who made time seem to stop. He wasn't particularly tall, maybe 5'10", but he moved like violence incarnate. His black suit was tailored perfectly, his white shirt unbuttoned just enough to reveal the beginning of intricate tattoos that crawled up his neck like black smoke. His hair was slicked back, except for a few strands that fell across his forehead, giving him an edge of barely controlled chaos. But it was his eyes that held me frozen, dark, calculating, and fixed on David with an intensity that promised pain. He was looking at his phone, at my message, then at me, then at David's hand, still hovering near his weapon. "You must be Detective Morris." His voice carried a slight accent, each word precise and controlled. "The husband." David straightened, his cop instincts kicking in. "This is none of your business. This is a domestic situation. I'm a detective with the—" "I know who you are." The man pocketed his phone and took 3 steps forward. Just 3. But somehow he was suddenly in David's space, and my husband, my 6'2", trained, armed husband, took a step back. "You put your hands on her." "She's my wife." "That," the man said softly, dangerously, "is not a defense. It's a confession." One of the suited men moved past them to me. He was younger, with kind eyes that didn't match his intimidating appearance. "Mrs. Morris, my name is Jin. We're going to get you out of here." Who are you people?" David's hand was definitely on his gun now. "I'm going to need all of you to step back. This is police business. I'll have you arrested for—" The lead man moved. I didn't even see it happen. 1 second, David had his gun halfway out of its holster. The next second, he was on the ground, his nose fountaining blood, his weapon skittering across the floor. The tattooed man's knee was on David's chest, one hand pinning his gun arm at an angle that made David howl. "My name," he said calmly, as if he wasn't currently breaking a cop's wrist, "is Jae Sung. Your wife sent me a message asking for help." He applied more pressure. David's scream echoed through the empty store. "I take those requests very seriously." He stood up smoothly, leaving David writhing on the floor. Then he walked over to me, his expression shifting from cold violence to something softer. He crouched down, careful to keep distance between us. "Happiness," he said my name like he was testing its weight. "I'm going to take you somewhere safe. You have my word that no one will hurt you again." I looked at this stranger with murder in his eyes and ink on his skin. This man who'd just destroyed a police detective like it was nothing. This man who'd responded to a wrong number text by bringing what looked like a small army. Behind him, David was trying to get up, blood streaming from his nose. "You're dead! All of you are dead! I'll have every cop in the city!" Jae Sung didn't even turn around. He just raised one hand, and one of his men casually stepped on David's back, pinning him down. "Your wife is coming with me," Jae Sung said, his eyes never leaving mine. "You have 2 choices. Accept this, or die tonight, explaining to your superiors why you assaulted a civilian in front of witnesses." He gestured around the store, and I noticed for the first time the security cameras. "I own the company that monitors these feeds. Funny how that works." He extended his hand to me, not grabbing, not demanding. Offering. I looked at that hand, at the tattoos peeking out from his sleeve, at the blood still on his knuckles from breaking my husband's nose, at the phone in his other hand with my desperate message still on the screen. He hit me. Those 3 words had been meant for family. Instead, they'd reached someone far more dangerous. And maybe, just maybe, that was exactly what I needed. I took his hand. Outside, a black SUV was waiting, its engine purring. More men in suits, more guns that I could see now in shoulder holsters and waistbands. Jae Sung helped me into the back seat like I was made of glass, then slid in beside me. "Where are we going?" My voice cracked. "Somewhere your husband can't reach you." He was already making calls in rapid Korean, his whole demeanor shifting from the dangerous stranger to a man running an operation. "My people will handle the detective. You're under my protection now." "But I don't even know you." He looked at me then, really looked at me. At the bandage soaking through with blood. At the split lip I'd forgotten about. At the fear I couldn't hide. "No," he agreed. "But you sent me a message asking for help, and I don't ignore those." Something flickered in his expression. My mother once sent a message like yours. No one came. His jaw tightened. I made a promise that day. If I ever had the power to help someone in that situation, I would. No matter what. The SUV pulled away from the supermart. Through the window, I could see police lights starting to arrive. David's cop friends, probably. But Jae Sung didn't seem concerned. What happens now? I whispered. Now? He handed me his phone, pulled up to a contact screen. Now you call someone you trust and tell them you're safe. Then we get that wrist properly treated. Then we figure out how to keep you alive while we deal with your husband and whoever he's working with. Working with? His smile was sharp. A detective's salary doesn't pay for the kind of surveillance equipment he's been buying. He's on someone's payroll, which means this just became more complicated than a domestic dispute. I stared at this strange, dangerous man who'd appeared out of nowhere. This Korean mafia boss, because what else could he be with the tattoos, the guns, the way his men moved like soldiers? Why? I asked. Why help me? I'm nothing to you, just a wrong number. Jae Sung looked out the window at the city lights flashing past. There are no wrong numbers, happiness, only paths that cross when they're meant to. You needed help. He paused. I needed to keep a promise. The SUV turned onto the highway, leaving behind the supermart, the blood, my old life. I was in a vehicle with dangerous men, heading into an unknown future with a mafia boss whose name I'd only learned 5 minutes ago. But for the first time in 3 years, my hands weren't shaking. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I might survive. Subscribe to see how this unfolds and comment where you're watching from. I would love to say hello to you, just to know how far our story is going. The penthouse was on the 42nd floor of a building I'd never be able to afford to even visit. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, the lights spread out like fallen stars. Everything was black marble and chrome, expensive and cold. Beautiful in the way a knife is beautiful, sharp, dangerous, purposeful. I stood in the middle of the living room, still cradling my wrist, feeling completely out of place in my blood-stained gray shirt and jeans. Jae Sung was speaking rapid Korean into his phone, pacing near the windows. His men had dispersed throughout the penthouse, checking rooms, securing exits, making sure we were safe, making sure I couldn't leave. Sit, Jae Sung said, ending his call. He gestured to a leather couch that probably cost more than my car. Dr. Yoon will be here in 5 minutes. I should go to a hospital. Hospitals report gunshot wounds and suspected domestic violence to the police. He loosened his tie, and I caught a better glimpse of those tattoos snaking up his neck. Intricate, beautiful, terrifying. Your husband is the police. Do you see the problem? I sat, mostly because my legs were shaking too badly to keep standing. What happens when he comes looking for me? Let him. Jae Sung poured 2 glasses of something amber from a crystal decanter. He brought one to me. You're safe here. This building has better security than most government facilities. I didn't touch the drink. Who are you? Really? He smiled, but it wasn't kind. You already know. You're a smart woman, Happiness. You can see the tattoos. You watched my men move. You know what I am. A criminal. A businessman. He took a sip of his drink. The businesses just happen to operate outside conventional legal frameworks. The Mafia. If it makes you feel better to use that word. He sat across from me, close enough to talk quietly, but far enough to not crowd me. But I'm not your enemy. Your enemy is the man who broke your wrist, who hunted you through a grocery store like an animal, who uses his badge to ensure no one can help you. The door opened, and a small, older Korean man hurried in carrying a medical bag. He didn't seem surprised by the blood or the tension. He just bowed slightly to Jae Sung and turned to me with gentle eyes. Mrs. Morris, I'm Dr. Yoon. May I examine your wrist? I nodded, too exhausted to correct him about the name I was probably going to have to shed like dead skin. Dr. Yoon was efficient and surprisingly gentle. He cut away the soaked bandage, revealing the swelling and bruising underneath. His face remained professionally neutral, but I saw the tightening around his eyes. He'd seen injuries like this before, knew exactly what caused them. "Fractured," he said quietly, probing with careful fingers. "Hairline, but it will need to be immobilized. You were lucky." Lucky? I almost laughed, but I swallowed it down and let him work. Jae Sung watched in silence as Dr. Yoon cleaned the wound, applied antiseptic that burned worse than the initial break, and wrapped my wrist in a proper medical splint. The doctor also checked the cut on my lip, the bruising on my ribs that David had left when he'd shoved me into the kitchen counter earlier. "Rest," Dr. Yoon instructed, packing his supplies. "Ice the swelling. I'll leave pain medication." He glanced at Jae Sung. She should not be alone for the next 24 hours. Possible concussion. "She won't be," Jae Sung assured him. After the doctor left, silence settled between us. I stared at my newly wrapped wrist, clean and white and still throbbing. But it was manageable now. Real medical care, not the desperate bathroom first aid I'd become skilled at over 3 years. "There's a guest room down the hall," Jae Sung said. "Second door on the right. Everything you need is there. Clothes, toiletries. Someone will bring dinner in an hour." I stood up, testing my legs. They held. "And then what?" "Then you rest. Tomorrow we figure out the next move." "The next move," I repeated. "You make it sound like a game." "It is a game." He stood too, and in the dim lighting of the penthouse, with his tie loose and his jacket discarded, he looked less like a businessman and more like exactly what he was: a predator. "Your husband made the first move when he put his hands on you. He made the second when he hunted you. He made the third when he drew his gun in that store." His eyes met mine. "Now it's my turn. I didn't ask you to fight my battles." "No, you asked for help. This is what help looks like in my world." I wanted to argue, wanted to tell him I could handle this myself, that I didn't need a criminal, a mafia boss, to rescue me like some damsel in a cheap action movie. But the truth was sitting heavy in my chest. I couldn't handle it myself. I'd tried. For 3 years, I'd tried. And all I had to show for it were broken bones and broken promises. "Why?" The question came out smaller than I intended. Why go through all this trouble for someone you don't know? Jae Sung was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to look out at the city lights, his reflection ghostly in the glass. "My mother was married to a man who hurt her," he said finally. "For 8 years, she stayed. She stayed because he was respected in our community, because divorce was shameful, because she believed she had nowhere to go." He paused. "When I was 12, she finally tried to leave. She made it to a bus station with me and my sister, sent a message to her brother asking for help, for money, for anything. I waited, barely breathing. My uncle never responded. Either he didn't get the message or he chose not to help. We never found out which." Jae Sung's jaw tightened. "My father found us 3 hours later, dragged us back home. That night, while my sister and I hid in the closet, he beat our mother so badly she was in the hospital for 2 weeks." "Jae Sung!" "She never tried to leave again," he continued, his voice carefully empty. "She died when I was 17. The doctors said it was an aneurysm, but I knew better. Years of head trauma, of being thrown into walls, of being someone's punching bag. It catches up." He turned back to me, and there was something raw in his expression that made my chest ache. "So, when I got a text from a terrified woman saying, 'He hit me,' I didn't see a stranger. I saw my mother. And this time, I had the power to help." He stepped closer. "That's why." I didn't know what to say. How do you respond to that kind of honesty? That kind of pain? I'm sorry, I managed. About your mother. Don't be sorry. Be alive. Be safe. Be the ending my mother never got. He walked past me toward what I assumed was his own room, leaving me standing in the middle of his expensive, cold, beautiful penthouse. I found the guest room exactly where he'd said. It was bigger than my and David's entire bedroom, decorated in soft grays and whites. There was indeed a closet full of women's clothes in various sizes, still tagged, a bathroom stocked with every toiletry imaginable, a bed that looked like sleeping on a cloud. I sat on the edge of that bed and finally let myself fall apart. The sobs came hard and ugly, tearing out of my chest like they'd been trapped there for years. Maybe they had been. 3 years of swallowing screams, of smiling through split lips, of pretending everything was fine while my husband slowly destroyed me, piece by piece. I cried until I was empty, until there was nothing left but the hollow ache and the throbbing in my wrist, and the strange, disorienting feeling of being safe for the first time in forever. When I finally emerged from the guest room, showered and wearing clothes that actually fit, a soft black sweater and leggings that still had the tags attached, the penthouse was quieter. Most of Jae Sung's men had left, but I could see two stationed by the front door. Watching, protecting. Jae Sung was in the kitchen, which seemed absurd. A Mafia boss cooking. But there he was, sleeves rolled up, those intricate tattoos fully visible now. They covered his entire right arm, a masterpiece of black ink depicting tigers and dragons and symbols I didn't recognize. The tattoos on his neck continued down his chest, disappearing under his shirt. You cook, I said, because I needed to say something normal. I eat, he replied, without looking up from whatever he was preparing. It seemed practical to learn. He glanced at me. You look better. I feel half dead. Half dead is better than fully dead. He plated what turned out to be a simple but perfect-looking stir-fry. Come, eat. We sat at his dining table, black marble again, everything in this place was black marble, and ate in silence for a few minutes. The food was good. Better than good. I hadn't realized how hungry I was until the first bite. David called my phone 17 times in the last hour, Jae Sung said casually, like he was discussing the weather. Left 11 voicemails, each one more threatening than the last. My appetite vanished. What did he say? Nothing worth repeating. Typical abuser rhetoric. You belong to him. I'm a dead man. The police will protect him. So on. He took a sip of water. What he doesn't know yet is that the police are currently very interested in why one of their detectives assaulted a civilian in a public place with multiple witnesses and functioning security cameras. You said you owned the security company. I do, which means I have excellent footage of everything that happened in that supermart. Detective Morris drawing his weapon. Detective Morris grabbing you by your injured wrist. Detective Morris threatening multiple civilians. He smiled. It's already been sent to Internal Affairs, along with anonymous tips about certain financial irregularities in his bank accounts. I stared at him. Financial irregularities? Your husband has been depositing $10,000 cash every month for the past year. Money that doesn't match his police salary. Money that has a very interesting source. What source? Jae Sung's expression went cold. The Viper Gang, my rivals. Your husband has been on their payroll, feeding them information about my operations, about police investigations they need to avoid, about shipments they can steal. The stir-fry in my stomach turned to lead. David's been working with a gang? A gang that would very much like to see me dead or arrested. A gang that your husband has been helping in exchange for money and protection. He leaned back in his chair. Tell me, Happiness, when you ran from your apartment tonight, did you grab anything besides your phone? I thought back. The blur of fear, of pain, of desperation. I had my purse. It's probably still in the SUV. Bring it. One of the guards retrieved my purse. I upended it on the table. wallet, keys, lip balm, receipts, and a phone I didn't recognize. "That's not mine," I said, staring at the unfamiliar device. Jae Sung picked it up carefully, like it might explode. He turned it over, examining it. "Where did you get this?" "I don't know. I've never seen it before." "Think. When did you grab your purse?" I closed my eyes, forcing myself back to those terrifying minutes. David shoving me, the coffee table shattering, running to the bedroom, grabbing my purse from the nightstand. But had it been the nightstand? Or had it been the dresser? I breathed. I grabbed it from David's dresser, in the dark. I thought it was mine. They're the same brand of purse, and I was panicking. Jae Sung's expression shifted into something dangerous. He powered on the phone, his fingers moving quickly over the screen. Whatever he found made his jaw clench. "What is it?" "This is a burner phone, encrypted. The kind people use when they don't want their communications traced." He scrolled through something, his eyes moving rapidly. "Your husband has been very busy. Messages to the Viper Gang, photos of my properties, schedules, names of my people." Oh God! This phone is evidence of conspiracy, racketeering, and about 17 other charges that will put your husband away for 20 years. He looked at me, and there was something fierce in his expression. "You didn't just escape your abuser, Happiness. You stole evidence that could destroy my enemies." I felt like the floor was tilting. "I didn't know. I didn't mean to." "I know." He set the phone down gently. "But David doesn't know that. All he knows is that you disappeared with something he needs. Something that could destroy him and everyone he's working with. So he's going to come after me. He was already coming after you. Now he has an additional reason." Jae Sung stood, pacing to the windows. "The Vipers will want this phone. They'll tear this city apart looking for it." "Then give it to them. I don't want it. I don't want any of this." "Too late. You're involved now whether you want to be or not." He turned back to me. "But I can keep you safe. That building we were in, 42 floors, 24-hour security, facial recognition at every entrance. This phone? It's now in my possession, which means they have to go through me to get it. And going through me." His smile was sharp. "Well, that's not an easy thing to do." I wanted to scream, wanted to throw something, wanted to wake up and discover this was all some nightmare, and I was still in my bed with David snoring beside me. Except that bed was a nightmare too. That whole life was a nightmare. "I want to go home," I heard myself say. "You can't. David's already been back to your apartment. According to my people watching the building, he destroyed everything, and he's filed a report claiming you attacked him, stole police evidence, and fled. There's an APB out for your arrest." "That's insane. I didn't—" "I know, but he has friends in the department. Friends who will believe him over you. Friends who will help him cover up what really happened." Jae Sung came back to the table, sitting across from me. "Right now, the only safe place for you is here. With me. Under my protection. I'm trading one cage for another." "No." His voice was firm. "A cage is somewhere you're kept against your will. Somewhere you're hurt and controlled and afraid. This is a fortress, and you're free to leave anytime you want. But if you leave, you're on your own against a corrupt cop and the gang he works for. So I'm asking you to stay. Not as a prisoner, as someone under my protection." I looked at this man who'd appeared in my life through a wrong number. This criminal with his tattoos, and his guards, and his expensive penthouse. This man who'd broken my husband's nose without hesitation. This man who'd lost his mother to violence and made a promise to never let it happen again on his watch. "Why should I trust you?" "You shouldn't," he said honestly. "You don't know me. Don't know what I'm capable of. Don't know if I'm better or worse than the monster you ran from." He leaned forward. "But I'm going to tell you something true, Happiness. I've done terrible things, hurt people, destroyed lives. I'm not a good man. But I have rules, lines I don't cross. And one of those lines is harming women. Another is keeping my promises. And you promised to help me? Yes. Even though I'm nothing to you. You're not nothing. He said it with such certainty that it startled me. You're someone who asked for help. Someone who refused to die quietly in the dark. Someone strong enough to run even when you were terrified. That's not nothing. We sat there in his dining room, the city lights glittering beyond the windows, and I felt something shift inside me. Not trust exactly, but maybe the possibility of trust. The beginning of it. Okay, I said finally. I'll stay, for now. For now, he agreed. He stood, started clearing the dishes. I moved to help, and for a few minutes we worked in silence, falling into an oddly domestic rhythm that felt surreal given everything that had happened. Tell me about your mother, Jae Sung said quietly, his hands in the soapy water. What? You tried to text your mother tonight. Tell me about her. I dried a plate carefully. She died 2 years ago. Cancer. She never liked David. Tried to warn me before the wedding that something was off about him. But I was in love. Or I thought I was. I didn't listen. Love makes us blind. Did you ever love someone? He was quiet for a long moment. Once. Before I became this. He gestured to himself, to the tattoos, to the penthouse, to everything his life had become. She couldn't accept what I was, what I had to become to protect my sister, to build something that would keep us safe, so she left. I'm sorry. Don't be. She made the right choice. This life isn't for everyone. He dried his hands, turning to face me. Is it for you? I don't know what you mean. Staying here, being under my protection, it means being part of my world, even peripherally. It means accepting that the man keeping you safe is also the man who runs illegal operations, who hurts people when necessary, who exists outside the law you thought would protect you. I thought about David's badge, about how that symbol of law and order had been used as a weapon against me, how the system meant to help me had failed at every turn. The law didn't protect me, I said. Maybe it's time I stopped expecting it to. Something flickered in Jae Sung's eyes. Approval, maybe, or recognition. Get some rest, he said. Tomorrow we start dealing with your husband and the vipers. It's going to get complicated. I went back to the guest room, but I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw David's face, heard his whistling, felt his hand on my wrist, twisting. Around 2 a.m, I gave up and padded out to the living room. Jae Sung was there, sitting in the dark, staring out at the city. He'd changed into black sweatpants and a t-shirt, his tattoos stark against his skin, even in the dim light. Can't sleep? He asked without turning around. Can you? I don't sleep much. Hazard of the profession. I sat on the other end of the couch. Do you ever regret it? This life? Every day. He finally looked at me. But regret doesn't change anything. We make choices. We live with them. What made you choose this? Necessity. After my mother died, my father drank himself to death within 6 months. My sister and I had nothing. No family who wanted to take in the children of an abusive drunk. No money. No options. He turned back to the window. So I did what I had to do. Started small, running errands for people who operated in the shadows, proved myself useful, learned the business, climbed. And your sister? Safe. Living in California under a different name with a good man who treats her well. She has 2 kids now, teaches art at a university. Everything I wanted for her. Does she know what you do? She knows enough. Knows better than to ask questions. He smiled slightly. She sends me her students' artwork sometimes. Tells me I should find something beautiful to put on these walls. I looked around at the stark, minimalist space. It is kind of cold in here. It's secure. That's what matters. We sat in companionable silence for a while. Outside, the city never slept. Lights moving, people living their lives, completely unaware that 42 floors up, a mafia boss and an abused wife were having a quiet conversation in the dark. "Thank you," I said finally, "for coming tonight, for not ignoring my text. Thank you for surviving long enough to send it. I don't feel very strong." "Strength isn't about how you feel, it's about what you do despite how you feel." He met my eyes. "You ran. You fought. You survived. That's strength, happiness." It was the first time anyone had called me strong in 3 years. The first time anyone had seen me as anything other than a victim or a problem or a possession. I felt something crack open inside me. Not breaking. Opening. Like the first hint of light through a door I'd thought was sealed forever. "Get some rest," Jae Sung said gently. "Real rest. You're safe here, I promise." This time, when I went back to the guest room and closed my eyes, I believed him. And for the first time in 3 years, I slept without nightmares. I woke up the next morning to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. For a disorienting moment, I didn't remember where I was. Then everything crashed back. David, the supermart, Jae Sung, the burner phone. The burner phone. I found Jae Sung in his office, a room I hadn't seen before. It was all dark wood and leather, shelves lined with books in Korean and English. He was behind a massive desk, the phone in question connected to a laptop, lines of code scrolling across the screen. "Tell me you found something," I said from the doorway. He looked up, and there was something grim in his expression. "I found everything. Text messages coordinating attacks on my shipments, photos of my warehouses, intel on my security protocols. Your husband has been feeding the Vipers information for over a year." I moved closer, looking at the screen, even though I couldn't make sense of most of it. Why would he do that? Money, power. The Vipers promised him a cut of everything they stole from me, plus protection from internal affairs investigations. Jae Sung pulled up a banking record. "See this? That's $50,000 deposited into an offshore account 3 days ago. Payment for information that led to the theft of $200,000 in merchandise." My stomach turned. I lived with him. I shared a bed with him. How did I not know? "Because he's good at hiding. And you were busy surviving." Jae Sung closed the laptop. "But this changes things. The Vipers know you have this phone by now. David would have told them. They'll come for you." "Then maybe I should leave. Go far away. Change my name." "They'll find you. These people have resources, connections." He stood, coming around the desk. "Or you can stay. Let me teach you how to protect yourself, how to fight back." "I don't know how to fight." "You will." The training started that afternoon in a private gym on the building's 40th floor. Jae Sung had changed into workout clothes, and without the suits and the professional veneer, he looked younger. Still dangerous, but more human somehow. "First rule," he said, handing me boxing wraps. "You're not a victim anymore. Victims freeze. Fighters move." "I'm not a fighter." "Then learn." He showed me how to wrap my hands, working carefully around my injured wrist. "You don't have to be the strongest person in the room. You just have to be willing to hurt someone who's trying to hurt you." We started with basics: how to stand, how to make a proper fist, how to put my body weight behind a punch. I was clumsy and slow, and my wrist throbbed with every movement. But Jae Sung was patient in a way that surprised me. "Again," he said when I fumbled. "And don't apologize. Fighters don't apologize." "I'm not a fighter," I repeated, frustrated. "You texted for help while hiding in a grocery store with your abuser hunting you. You ran instead of giving up. You survived." He adjusted my stance. "You're already a fighter. Now you just need to learn the mechanics." Over the next 3 days, we fell into a routine. Morning training. afternoon strategy sessions where Jae Sung walked me through everything he knew about the Vipers and David's involvement. Evening meals where we talked about everything except the danger closing in around us. I learned that Jae Sung had taught himself to speak 5 languages, that he'd never finished high school but had read more books than most college graduates, that he played piano, though he claimed to be terrible at it, that his favorite food was his mother's kimchi jjigae, a recipe he'd never been able to replicate. And he learned about me, about my mother's laugh, and my father who'd left when I was 6, about my dream of opening a bakery someday, about the woman I'd been before David had systematically destroyed her confidence. "You'll open that bakery," Jae Sung said one night. We were on his balcony, the city spread out below us like a galaxy of captured stars. "When this is over." "You sound certain." "I am." He was leaning against the railing, his profile sharp in the ambient light. "You're stronger than you think, Happiness." "I don't feel strong. I feel terrified." Fear and strength aren't opposites. Fear is what keeps you alive. It's what you do with that fear that matters. He turned to look at me. "You could have stayed in that apartment, could have accepted that this was your life. But you didn't. You ran. You fought. You survived. I got lucky. If I hadn't mistyped that number. There's no such thing as luck. Just moments and choices." He moved closer, and I could see the details of his tattoos in the low light. The tigers seemed to move, prowling across his skin. "You chose to ask for help. I chose to answer. Everything else is just consequence. Do you believe in fate?" "I believe in action. In making your own fate." His eyes met mine, dark and intense. "I believe that some people come into your life for a reason." The air between us felt charged, electric. I should have stepped back, should have remembered that this man was a criminal, that I was still technically married, that this whole situation was a powder keg waiting to explode. Instead, I stayed exactly where I was. "Jae Sung!" His phone buzzed, shattering the moment. He answered it in Korean, his expression shifting from soft to hard in an instant. The conversation was brief, clipped. When he hung up, his jaw was clenched. "What's wrong?" "We have a problem. One of my people was just found dead. Executed. The Viper's signature." He was already moving back inside, pulling up security feeds on his phone. "They're getting bold." "What does that mean?" "It means they're coming. Maybe not tonight, maybe not tomorrow, but soon." I felt ice slide down my spine. "Maybe I should—" "No." He turned to me, his expression fierce. "You don't run. Not anymore. You stand your ground. You fight." "I've only been training for 3 days. I can't." "You can." He grabbed my shoulders, not roughly but firmly. "Listen to me. You are not the same woman who hid in that grocery store. You're not the same woman who let a man break her bones and her spirit. You're stronger now. Believe it." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. The attack came 2 nights later. I was asleep when the lights went out. Not just in my room. The entire building went dark. Emergency lights kicked in immediately, bathing everything in red. Jae Sung burst into my room, already dressed, already moving. "Get up, they're here!" My heart slammed into my throat. "How many?" "Enough." He pressed something cold and heavy into my hands. A gun. "Remember what I taught you. Point, breathe, squeeze. Don't hesitate." "I can't." "You can." He was checking his own weapon, his movements economical and precise. "They've cut the power. They'll come up the emergency stairs. I need you to—" "Don't tell me to hide." The words came out harder than I expected. "Don't tell me to lock myself in a bathroom while you fight. I won't. Not again." He looked at me for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Stay behind me. Watch my 6. If anyone gets past me, you shoot them. Can you do that?" Could I? Could I actually point this weapon at another human being and pull the trigger? I thought about David's hand on my wrist. About 3 years of fear. about the woman I used to be and the woman I was becoming. Yes. We moved into the hallway. Jae Sung's men were already in position, weapons drawn, watching the stairwell entrance. The penthouse suddenly felt like what it was, a fortress preparing for siege. They'll come in fast, Jae Sung said quietly. The Vipers don't do subtle. They'll breach the door and flood the space. Stay close to me. The explosion was deafening. The stairwell door blew inward in a shower of metal and smoke. Men poured through, armed and moving with military precision. Jae Sung's men opened fire, and the penthouse became a war zone. I'd never heard gunfire outside of movies. The reality was louder, sharper, more visceral. I pressed myself against the wall, the gun heavy in my shaking hands, watching Jae Sung move like violence incarnate. Every shot precise, every movement economical. But there were too many of them. One of Jae Sung's men went down, then another. The Vipers kept coming, pushing forward through the smoke and chaos. And then I saw him. David. He was in the back, directing the attack, his badge on full display, like he had every right to be here. Like he wasn't betraying everything he'd sworn to protect. Our eyes met across the chaos, and his expression twisted into something ugly and triumphant. There you are, he mouthed. Jae Sung was engaged with 3 attackers, his back to the hallway where David was moving. Moving toward me, I raised the gun. Well, well, David said, stepping closer. His nose was still bandaged from where Jae Sung had broken it. My runaway wife. Playing gang member now? Stay back. Or what? You'll shoot me? He laughed, still advancing. You don't have it in you, happiness. You're weak. You've always been weak. That's why you needed me. I never needed you. I feared you. There's a difference. His hand moved to his own weapon. Give me the phone. Give me the phone and maybe I'll let you live. Let your boyfriend live too. Behind him, Jae Sung was down on one knee, blood seeping through his shirt. Outnumbered. Outgunned. No, I said. No? David's face darkened. You stupid! He lunged. I fired. The recoil nearly knocked me down, but the bullet found its target. David screamed, grabbing his leg, going down hard. The gun fell from his hand, clattering across the marble floor. I was moving before I realized it. Moving toward him while he was clutching his bleeding leg, the same leg where his bullet had shattered bone. I grabbed his fallen weapon and brought it down hard across his temple, the same way he'd hit me so many times. He crumpled. Movement behind me. I spun, raising both weapons now, and saw one of the Vipers with a gun trained on Jae Sung's back. I fired again. The man dropped. The gunfire was tapering off now. Jae Sung's reinforcements had arrived. I could hear them pouring in through the ruined doorway. The remaining Vipers were either dead or fleeing. Jae Sung staggered to his feet, blood on his shirt, but his eyes clear. He looked at me standing over David's unconscious body, guns in my hands, and something like pride flickered across his face. I told you, he said. Fighter! The police came 20 minutes later. Not regular cops. Internal Affairs, FBI, and what looked like half of the city's SWAT team. Jae Sung's lawyers had given them everything from the burner phone, along with documented evidence of David's corruption and the Vipers' operations. David woke up to handcuffs and Miranda rights. You can't do this, he slurred, still groggy from the head wound. I'm a detective. You're a criminal, the IA officer said flatly. And you're under arrest for corruption, racketeering, conspiracy, attempted murder. And about 15 other charges we're still documenting. They dragged him out past me. He looked at me with pure hatred, and I looked back with nothing at all. No fear, no anger, just emptiness where he used to live. Ma'am? One of the officers approached carefully. We need to take your statement. I gave it. Told them everything, about the abuse, about the phone, about David's connection to the Vipers, about defending myself when they'd attacked. Through it all, Jae Sung stood nearby, his lawyer whispering in his ear. Somehow, despite the firefight in his penthouse, despite the dead bodies being carried out, the police treated him with wary respect, like they knew exactly who and what he was, but couldn't, or wouldn't, touch him. Money and power, I realized, the same things David had wanted. The same things that made Jae Sung untouchable in ways David could never be. When the police finally left, when the bodies were removed and the blood was being cleaned up, I found Jae Sung on the balcony. He'd showered and changed, a fresh bandage visible under his open collar. "How bad is it?" I asked. "I've had worse." He looked at me. "You saved my life tonight." "You saved mine first. I was just returning the favor." "Still." He moved closer. "You could have run, could have hidden, could have let this play out without getting involved, but you didn't." "I told you, I'm done hiding." We stood in silence for a moment, the city waking up below us. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. "I should go," I said finally. "Find an apartment. Start figuring out my life." "Or you could stay." I turned to look at him. "As what? Your protected witness? Your charity case?" "As my partner." The word hung between us, heavy with meaning. "I'm not asking you to love me. I'm not even asking you to trust me yet. But stay. Help me run this empire. Use that strength you found, that fire." "I'm not a criminal." "Neither am I. I'm a businessman who operates outside conventional frameworks, remember?" His smile was slight. "Besides, after tonight, you've shot a cop and killed a gang member. You're already implicated. Might as well make it official." I should have been horrified. Should have run screaming from this man and his world of violence and beautiful danger. Should have found the nearest bus station and disappeared. Instead, I thought about the woman who'd hidden behind soda bottles, about 3 years of being small and scared and broken, about the feeling of the gun in my hands and the certainty of my own strength. "I want to open that bakery," I said. "Done. I'll buy you a building. I want to learn everything, not just how to fight, how to run things, how to be someone people fear to cross. I'll teach you, and I want you to promise me something. Anything. No more hiding, no more being small, no more letting anyone make me afraid." I met his eyes. "If I stay as an equal, not a protected thing, not a possession, an equal." Jae Sung's smile was genuine this time, reaching his eyes. "I wouldn't have it any other way." He extended his hand, not grabbing, not demanding, offering. I took it. 2 months later, we walked out of the building together, hand in hand, heading to the grand opening of my bakery. The press was there. They were always there now, fascinated by the story of the abused wife who'd become a mafia boss's partner, the woman who'd shot her corrupt cop husband and lived to tell about it. David was serving 25 years. The Vipers had been decimated, their operations absorbed into Jae Sung's network, and I was no longer Happiness Morris, cowering victim. I was just Happiness. Baker, fighter, partner, woman who refused to hide. "Ready?" Jae Sung asked as cameras flashed. I squeezed his hand. "Always." We walked forward together, into the light, into our new life. No longer hiding, no longer afraid, free.